Okay, so first thing is before I start, before we get into this, I wanted to show you some theoretical background of Python. This is not the way to start the programming language. So let me give you some introduction, then we will go into this. Okay, so welcome for the session 2. Let me explain the basics of some language concepts. Then we will go into the trying out some things today. Okay, that's how I do. Actually, I show some theory and then try out the same thing by writing programs. So that everything gets into your head. A simple hello world program. Okay, standard. Now I presume that I'll always compare it to the C here. What happens in C programming is you have a parenthesis to delimit the blocks of code, whereas here what they have done is indentation is given as the delimiters. Okay, the indent, whatever you see here, so that shows that it is within the function. And def is a keyword to define a function, and the parenthesis open and close with no parameter means that it doesn't accept any parameter, and nothing here, so it doesn't return anything. Colon is a delimiter for defining a function. Then whatever is defined within it with the intent is coming into the function. Okay, whatever code you write is a part of the function. So that's how you define blocks of code in in Python, which is the unique difference between other languages and this language, which you need to get used to. The guideline says that you use tab rather than fixed spaces. But if you are using it in the editor, which is Python knowledgeable, then it automatically takes care of that. Normally 4 characters are given, or 2 characters also is fine. Here I am giving you 2 characters as a tab. The standard says that 2 is better because 4 will be too much. It will go into the right side. And then there is one more limit, that 76 characters. No, you should not go beyond 76 characters in a row. Maybe maximum 79, so that everything can be seen in the screen. And then the normal guidelines is do not go more than some 4 to 5 indentation inside. If you are doing it more than that, that means your code is complex. You should try to restructure it, write a function, capture it as a function, and then reduce the inner levels. That is true with C also, but too many going into the levels complicates your code. As I mentioned to you yesterday, 80% of the time is spent in understanding your code, so you have to make sure that your code looks clean and very easy to understand. And Python as such is designed to give you the comfort that the code is very easy to understand, and the flow is also you can easily make out from the way it is written. Okay, so you are forced to follow some guidelines in Python. Rather than in C, you can write everything in a single line. Nobody prevents you. Compiler does not crib. You can write every whole file in a single line, but that kind of thing you cannot do in Python. So that's how Guido forced you to write clean code, which is readable, maintainable, and update. We can maintain it for ages. So let me explain. Def is a keyword to define a function. Hello is a function object. Okay, here important thing to remember is everything is an object in Python, including the function. So I will explain that. Function is also a function object. Here it has a characteristic that it doesn't accept any parameter. And when I say it doesn't return, what happens is normally all the functions in Python, they return if you don't mention anything, none type. Some object called none type, it returns default. Okay, we will see that. To invoke a function, what you do is you call it like this with the open and close parenthesis. If you do just a hello, it's just a label, but you need to invoke it with this syntax. Print is a predefined built-in Python function, so you don't need to hash include anything, stdio or anything, is a built-in, so it just you can use it. And any object that you have in Python, you can use a type built-in function to find out the type of the object that you are handling. As I mentioned, Python has everything as an object, so you can find out what is the type of the object by just doing this. So type returns a string, so you can say print and then type print. That means print is printing the type of the print function. Okay, so you can do that. It returns a string. If there is no return statement in a function, as I told you, it returns a default, returns none, which is a keyword and an object of a class none type. Okay, none type is a class object, class, and then none is a object of the type class. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with some object-oriented programming. Even if you are not, don't worry. I will explain to you. Right now, we are not too much bothered about the class and object, but just to clarify, class is something like a structure. Okay, a structure in C. In structure, we have data types. Okay, different data types. In class, what you have is you have data members similar to structure. Then you have functions or member functions. Okay, member functions which operate on the objects or data objects defined within the class. So class is a type definition, is similar to a type definition, and it can have both data members as well as the functions which operate on those data members. So extension of the structure that you have seen in C programming. So that much of introduction is enough for object and classes now. We will learn, I'll have multiple sessions on only talking about the classes and objects down the line. So don't worry about it. So none type is a class and none is an object of the type none type. Okay. So it can be assigned to variables. I will talk about variables here very specifically. They are different from what you have seen in C programs. So all variables that are assigned none point to the same object. Okay, let me explain with an example of an integer object. Right now, ignore it. Okay, it's too early. This bullet has come in, so don't worry about it. I will explain with an integer object. Then you will learn or understand what I mean by that. So now, what is uniqueness in Python is, suppose you are declaring a variable. What you do is you just define a label. Okay, label. You don't need to define or declare a type of this label. Okay, you don't need to type of label, you don't need to declare, like int I, you don't need to do. And there is no semicolon also, please. We get used to that. Normally automatically type semicolon comes, but Python does not want it, and it will give you error if you put it. Okay, so don't do it. Now what I'm saying is, any variable you can just say, that's all. If you do this, what is happening is, this 2 is an integer. It creates an object of integer object and then fills it with a 2. Okay, like what you have here is an integer object with the value 10. So there is some memory reserved for objects created by the Python program, which is called object memory. Okay, similar to data memory that you see in C. So it allocates an integer object. It creates an integer object just by writing 2. You are creating an integer object, and then it automatically fills a value of 2. And then this object will have some address, right? Starting address, some address. That address is passed to this variable I. So what I is, it is a label pointing at an address of an integer object, okay, which is initialized with a value 2. Okay, That means when you just do I equal to 2, an object, integer object is created here, which is initialized with the value 2, and its address in the object memory is assigned to I. Now, let me say j is equal to I plus 2. Now what happens is, this object 2 is only defined once in our program. Okay, it's the same value which you are using it, because prior to that you have written I equal to 2. So this object is already created. So Python is intelligent enough not to create one more object with the value 2. So it uses the same object that it has created already. Now it needs to add it with I. I is also pointing at 2. So 2 plus 2 is added. Now 4 is a new integer object. Now what happens is, it creates a object with the value 4, and then its address is passed to j. J now points to this object which is 4. So you might have now understood that if I say that integer is immutable, integer is immutable, that means you cannot modify an existing object. Even if I have I, suppose instead of j, if I say I, what happens here is, the old label I was pointing at the object 2. Now this label, now I will start pointing at the new object 4. Okay, this I itself will be pointing at the new object 4. So it's a good example of I is integer is immutable. That means you cannot change the existing integer object value with something else. It always creates a new object every time. So when you're adding now I plus 2, it has taken this label was pointing at object 2 and then added it with the existing 2 because you are directly accessing it. Then a new object 4 is created, and now I is made to point to the new object 4. Now you may wonder whether 2 will still be in the memory. It depends on the garbage collection, which we will talk about later. At this time, what happens is, let me erase it everything and then write it again. I equal to 2, j is I equal to I plus 2. Now the object is having, object memory is having object 2, now object 4. Now this I points to this object memory 4. My question is, will this object be released by the some garbage collector background running? Okay, you might be hearing about this in the Java if you are aware of Java. Otherwise, don't worry. What happens is, you don't need to release the objects or yourself. It will be done automatically by the Python by background running some program which is called garbage collector. We will come to that later. Now this I is now pointing at the new object 4, and no other label is pointing this object at all. Okay, no other label in your program, it's pointing at 2. So it is free to be removed by the garbage collector. It depends on when it gets a chance to run, but till now, right now, you don't need to worry about it. This object will be maybe existing in the memory. If you use k equal to 2, maybe it will reuse that object created earlier and then assign the same address to k. Okay, so every time when you declare, not a declare, when you define a new label, the label is created and the label is made to point to the object. So all of them are pointing at some object. Now if you want to know the value where it is pointing at, you can use some id function. I will give an example later on to know exactly how it is being implemented. Okay, right now understand the concept. This is a very important concept that you should understand, which is different in Python compared to what you have seen earlier with C or C++. Now if you have two variables which is pointing at 7, a equal to 7, and then you are saying b equal to 7, it will not create a new object 7. Both a and b will point to the same object which is there in the memory. Okay, so that's another thing which optimizes itself. Everything is an object in Python. When an integer value is assigned, memory for it is reserved. That means it is object is created and the address is assigned to the variable. Different variables to the same value point at the same object in the memory. Okay, I hope this is clear. Beauty of Python is that there is no limit on the size of an integer you can represent. Okay, that another important thing here is we have been used to the integer type, size of integer is 4 bytes or 8 bytes or float, all that we have been used to, right? And we know that float has a bigger range, double has much bigger range of values to be represented in the real world, real numbers. But we have a limitation on the integers in C programs. So you cannot define more than what an 8 bytes represent. Otherwise, you need to handle it in yourself. Okay. Whereas here in integer in Python is unlimited. The value that you can store it in integer object is unlimited. You can keep on writing any number of digits. You can keep trying it. Okay. It will still accept it and it will print it back to you. I want you to try that out. Bigger numbers and there is no limit. Okay, that's the beauty of integer. What does it do? It actually creates, when you are adding a huge numbers, it creates a new object and allocates that much memory for it, and then it handles it internally. Okay, it will be slow compared to normal integer addition that you perform in C language, but what you get out of this problem, the performance issue is you get unlimited range of integer value that you can represent in Python. Okay, that's the beauty of Python. So how do you get it? How do you find out the size of your integer? This is a function. Okay, I will explain with the code. Right now it's difficult to explain. Size is a library. Okay, system, sorry, sys import. You have to import the sys, and then you have to use this function provided by this library, and then you pass the integer object. You will get the size, number of bytes that it occupies in the memory. You will be able to find out. I will explain with an example soon. Okay, any questions so far? You can always interrupt me anytime. Okay, you don't need to wait for me to stop talking. I will continue to talk, assuming that you are following me. Please always interrupt me in case if you have some doubts and want me to clarify something. Okay, always feel free to come online and talk. Okay, I hope I will not be checking the chat window very often, so please uh, come here. Okay, anyone?
Sir, does it only offers for the integer only or in string also? Like the same variable, same different variable with same string value. They also point to the same memory location, or it
You
is
need to
only
come
applicable.
closer to the mic. Maybe I am not able to hear you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. This is the example for the integer. The same applies for the string also.
Yeah. You can also write a bigger string or even in so complete file. You can pass it. Um, it can expand. Okay,
Uh,
but it will create a new string every time. Okay, string is also immutable, similar to integer. String also immutable, and it will keep on increasing the size of the string.
and the if two variables have the same string, then it does refer to the same memory location.
Yeah. So I will come to the string also soon. Okay. I will. There are so many things need to be talked about string also. One unique or similarity between integer and string is both are immutable. That means suppose if you are adding a string ABC, okay, plus CDE, it creates a new string and then in the memory, okay, and then assign it to an object, or maybe if you are writing a str1, it will be label again pointing to the location of the new string. So you cannot modify the existing string. You need, it will create a new string every time. Okay, it's similar to an integer. Okay, but there are many things we can talk about string. We will come to that soon. Okay, good. So there are many methods defined in each of the built-in data types. Okay, integer also has some built-in data types. Um, Methods, as well as there are many other data types are also there built in, like a string. We will cover one by one. Okay, now um, Python is a dynamically typed language. what I mean by dynamic is we don't have to declare the type of a variable while assigning a value to a variable in Python. As I mentioned, I equal to 2. You are starting off with I, you don't define a type for the variable I. Based on what I is pointing at, the type of the label is defined. Okay, when you say type of I, now it will give you integer. Okay, whereas if you say I equal to my string and then type, if you try to find the type of I, it will say string. So you don't associate a label with a particular type in your program. So whereas in C, if you have an integer, wherever you use I, if as long as this I is in the scope, you cannot change the type of the I. Okay, it is tied to an integer type, and you need to uh, follow that type. Okay, you cannot change the type dynamically. Static type is statically typed language. Okay, very strict static typing is followed in C. Here is a dynamic in the sense the variable I in your program in the same scope, for some time it will be a type will be 2, but once you assign it to some other variable, then it gets a new type from then on. So you can still use I, but now going forward I will be a string. So that's the called a dynamic typing. You don't tie a particular label with a or a variable. You can call it as a variable or a label. In our case, in Python, it's a label only. Okay, it's actually you cannot dereference or anything. Okay, of course you cannot find out the address like this in a language like Python. I'll tell you the reason why they have restricted you to access the address of particular object or anything, because that's a cause for error. Okay, in C program, mostly what you do by intent or by mistake, both ways, you can actually make your program crash, because you can access the memory where the variable is stored, and then you can play with it. Okay, even the string or any variable, you have the freedom to play around with the address of the variable. Whereas here, id also gives you some information about the variable. Okay, id also is similar to uh, an address, but it's not an address. Okay, you cannot write into this id, or you cannot dereference, or no, I cannot say id equal to something so that I can write a new value into the same object. No, it is not allowed. You cannot do that. Okay, but if you want to know whether when I say I equal to 2 and then I say j equal to 2, whether they are pointing at the same object or not, you can say id of I and then id of j. They will give you some value which is unique. Okay, they are same. Okay, both are same. That will give an indication that okay, we are pointing at the same object. But that doesn't mean that you can go use this value that you get from the library function and then go and play around with it or modify it. Okay, because it's you cannot modify the actual memory directly. Okay, and moreover the integer object is immutable, you cannot even modify it. So that flexibility is not given to a programmer. Okay, that is a beauty, or not a beauty, that's a feature of the language which prevents you from doing something wrong. Okay, or make your program crash. Okay, that's an advantage of that. But if you are very comfortable with C programming and you want to play around like that, I'm sorry, you cannot do it here. Okay, you have to declare some variable and play around properly using the library functions or the operations perform supported by the language, but there is no backdoor entry like what you have in C. Whatever we did in the last class, you cannot do all those things here. Okay, so other languages like C, C++, maybe not a Java, there is a strict declaration of variables. Okay, you have to have a type declaration in Java or C, C++, whereas you don't do it here in Python. Python does not know about the type of a variable until, when I say Python, it's a Python interpreter when it is executing your program. Okay, not a language I'm saying. The interpreter which is going through your code does not know whether a variable label is of type integer or a string until it knows what is the variable it is assigned to, or what is the object it is referring to or pointing at. Okay, so unless you assign a variable with a value, some object, you cannot know what is the type of that label. Okay, what is that label is pointing at, which type of object it is pointing at. Okay, the variable name is bound to the object it is pointing at. Okay, that's all. When a value is assigned to a variable, a reference or address of this object is stored. Okay, I may not be saying address is a id or a reference. Okay, but anyway, you cannot use that address to do something. It is something to do with a unique value. Okay, in an object. Okay, that you will not have any other object with that value. Okay, unique value. Okay, so stored into the variable, not the value held by the object. Okay, it's not a value held by the object. So what I'm saying is, when I'm saying I equal to 2 and j equal to 2, do not assume that I is having a value which is 2. Okay, it's not. I is referring or pointing at the object which is having a value 2. Okay, which is of type integer object. Okay, so you are not actually, I or j is not actually holding the value. Okay, so now what is the uniqueness here? Now when you are passing a function to a function, okay, I or comma j, you are not actually pointing the value pointed to by the object, you are pointing by reference. Okay, so you are actually sending the reference or a pointer to the object which is having the value 2. Okay, when you are passing it also. So that you keep in mind, whatever you are exchanging or whatever you are using in your Python program is all is a reference to a object. Okay, so my int equal to 2 assigns the address or a reference of this integer object in memory. Okay, my string, again the same thing. My pi, it's a floating point object, and its reference is point to the assigned to the my pi. Okay, label. So all the variables in Python program carry the address of the objects they point to. Okay, not the actual values of those objects. Now id of a variable gives you the address of the object the variable is pointing at. Okay, some unique id. Okay, so this is what is the dynamic typing. Now what are the different data types in Python? This is the broad categories of data types. I will not go into the details of each one of them. We will cover one by one. Okay, just this is just a summary of data type that you have. Now what are the numeric operations that you can perform? Many. Okay, I want you to, the homework is to try out all these things and try to be familiar with this. You have the comment on what each of them is doing. There are some numeric operations. We will see few of them. I will leave the rest for you to try it out. And I'm giving the homework before. Okay, use an integer and floating point values by assigning them into different variables, and check out how the type and id of those variables change. Okay, type and id is something like address. Okay, how do they change? Okay, maybe I will say id is label. Okay, not address, the variable name. Okay, understand what happens when you do simple integer or floating point arithmetic using variables and constants, then assigning the results into some variable or labels. What I am saying here is, maybe you can say I equal to 2, j equal to 5, maybe k equal to 10, and then say m is equal to I plus j plus k plus maybe 15, and then try to find out type and id of these variables, including this. Okay, you can also say id 15. Okay, try to find out those things and then interchange something, maybe get some other new value. Suppose you say v is equal to 10, and then find out what is the id of v compared to id of k. Then you will know that this 10 is reused here. Play around, maximum try to find out what is happening underneath. Okay, that's how you understand how does language behave and how what they do internally. Okay, I more of exploratory in nature. I may not be able to explain everything, I may miss out something, but you can actually explore more and more when you write, and then try to find out what is happening. Okay, always be very careful or attentive to find out, dig it out and then find out. Okay, this is the initial stages. If you do it, it will give you the base knowledge. Then when you write programs later on, Python programs, you will always have this in mind, that this is what is happening underneath, because we are all coming from a different programming language background. This concept will not sink in unless you try out yourself and find out what is happening. Okay, this is very important that you should do it. Analyze the address pointed to or the ID by different labels using the ID variable function to understand how does Python handle variables and objects. Okay, this is a very important exercise that you should do. Use all the numeric operators that I have shown you in the previous slide. Try to play around with that. If you get into some trouble, Google it or find out what does it mean. Read about the now you can also get the help from the spider itself. Gives you what does that those operators do. So understand different uh, all these numbering schemes and different types that Python supports, so that you become strong in these basic things, basic data types, before we get deeper into advanced data structures. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show you as a theory. So then we will start writing code now. Before that, let me look at any questions here. Nothing other than my own message. Anybody having any questions now before we start writing program? So what I plan to do is, I don't know, you can tell me whether you want it or not. My son recommended it. 10 minutes break, maybe around 1 hour, and then leave you around 10 minutes early to prepare you for the next class. Do you want 10 minutes or 5 minutes each? I expected it. I wanted to see at least one person saying 5. Nobody will say, because the whole class will hit you hard. Okay, okay, I understand. 1 minute. See, I see one guy. 10 minutes and 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, we will lose 20 minutes. That's my concern. Okay, I don't know. You want 10 plus 5 or 5 plus 10? I don't know. Uh, I think that's a reasonable number. 10 plus 10 is 20 minutes is too huge, I felt, though my son recommended that. You tell me 10 plus 5 or okay, 10 plus 5 is okay. Fine. Yeah, I agree with you. I think this will be a good in between, no break, and then this. Okay. So at 1 o'clock, sorry, after 1 hour, 10 minutes break, then I will leave you 5 minutes before, so that you are all set for the next class, ready. Okay. Fine. Thanks for very frank feedback. I love it. Okay. Now we are going to write some program, and I leave it to you based on your convenience. You can also try out parallelly along with me, but the problem is sometimes you may miss out on understanding what I'm saying rather than you typing yourself. I leave it to your convenience. You are free to do it. Okay, now let me start off. We have maybe 7 o'clock, no, sorry, 8 o'clock, what is that, 6:42, no, 7 o'clock I will give a break. Okay, what is this console? This is the IPython console. Okay, whatever program you run here, okay, the output is seen here. Now I will tell you, you can also create a new console here. Okay, just forcibly creating it so that it prints you some information. um, this is what I wanted all of us to have. Okay, because I noticed that when you are, please check it with your installation. Those who have done successfully the installation, are you getting the same Python version when you start a new console? Okay, so that all of us are on the same page. See here, this is the laptop AMD 64-bit processor that I am running on. So I am this MSc is Microsoft version. So we are using a 64-bit version of the interpreter, okay, and the Python language standard, okay, which follows or which is followed by the interpreter that is running in the background is 3.8.8. See, let me explain something about this, okay. What is happening, why we should be concerned about this version, okay. It is very important that you understand it before we go deeper into Python. Let me tell you. See, what is happening, the language Python definition itself is evolving, okay. Just a little bit of history. 2.0 was the earlier version, maybe prior to that 1.7 also was there. I think around 2.7 or something, they stopped this particular version, okay. Then they started off with 3.0. What happened was, the 3.0 started the language definition. When I say language definition, what are the built-in data types and then some syntax, all those things are defined by the language definition. And it's a open source, okay. And though Guido is controlling the language even today, okay, who is the inventor of this language, but it is given to many developers all over the world, and they are defining the language based on what all is coming up and the new fields coming up. They define the language, enhance the language, add more features, more libraries. So the Python language itself is getting evolved, okay, as we speak now. 3.9 has already come, but I am using 3.8.8 because 3.9 is still evolving. I don't want to use it, and this particular Anaconda version also is using this version, so we are using it. Now, what is that? Why are we so particular about this? Okay, um, the reason is the PVM, what I spoke about, is internally running as a kernel. Okay, it's called kernel in the language, Python language, not a OS kernel. It's a Python kernel. Okay, Python kernel. It is background running. Now this PVM is going to understand your language, that .py file you give, and then it is going to evaluate syntactically. Okay, check. It is going to check it whether it is according to the language definition or not. Now, if the compiler, not even PVM, sorry, the compiler, okay, compiler is going to look at your language and then generate the PYC file, right, bytecode. After that, only the PVM comes into picture. So the compiler, when it is checking, it is supposed to know, or it is supposed to check some version of the Python code coming in. Okay, if the compiler itself is designed for 3.8.8, and then what you are feeding is a 3.9, suppose you using some features which are added in the Python version 3.9, and then you feed that Python file to this compiler which is built for 3.8.8 version of Python, naturally it will give you error. Okay, if suppose you are using some feature which is added between 3.8 to 3.9, but if you are using same 3.8 features, it will not have anything, no issues, it will compile and give you everything fine. But if you are adding something which is different from what was supported by 3.8.8, it is going to give you error. So the compiler version what you are running, okay, should match with the code that you write here. Okay, and also the PVM, okay, PVM also tied to something, because suppose the compiler is of 3.9 version but the PVM is of 3.8.8, then also you'll have a problem, because it will generate some bytecode which is compatible for 3.9, because it will have added some new bytecodes there which will not be understandable by the PVM which is of 3.8.8 version. So it is very important that the language that you use should match with the rest of the tool chain that you have in the background. That is true with C also. Don't think that C is also not evolving. You might be aware that C99, C88, okay, C11, 2011. There are all different versions of C, and C++ is also evolving every 4 years. So all languages cannot stay as they are when I learned in 1983 or 1987 when I graduated, what I learned in C is different from what I am seeing now. Okay, the C language itself has evolved over time. C++ has evolved much more. So Python is also evolving. The reason is they have to be up to date with the latest trends and latest processors, and the compilers need to be ported onto 64-bit processor. Okay, there are so many things evolving. OS or operating system is also evolving. New versions of OS is coming. So compiler which was running on Windows 7 need to be ported to Windows 10. So everything is changing. Okay, so the field is very vast and always changing. That's why we engineers have to be always on top of what is happening around. Otherwise, we will be obsolete soon. Okay, so you have to learn throughout your career, even after retirement, even beyond that. Okay, you need to keep learning. So be prepared mentally that not your learning doesn't stop with your MTech or your PGD. It is continuing. Okay, it is a continuous process. Okay, fine. Now let us come to IPython. It's a console. Okay, it's similar to what you saw in command line terminal, or what you see in terminal window on Linux. This is the Python console. In the background kernel Python version which runs, which understands this Python version is running. So I can actually give Python commands here. Okay, print hi. Okay, so what happens, I said is a Python is an interpreter, and it understands every line of Python code. So I wrote a one Python line which is a print function, which is a built-in function. So I have not used anything that I am using it in your program or something, which is already a library function. So it is interpreting this, converting it into a bytecode, running it in the PVM. PVM is running in the background and uses the CPU to run this line, and then gives you the output high at the outside. Okay, so you can in fact run any Python commands, anything that you want to try out. Suppose octal. No, maybe let me take an example. You wanted to get the absolute value of something. Okay, ABS. So you can just try it out on our window. I hope it will work. So this is what is happening. Okay, it's a built-in library. You are giving a negative value, so it gets you the absolute value. So what has happened here, it has created an object with an integer object with a -1 value, and then passed that reference to that object to the absolute library function, and then absolute built-in library executed it, and then created a object of type 1, sorry, value 1, and then printed it out. Okay, so this much has happened in this particular line of code. So understand that what is happening underneath. Clear gives you the clearing of command. Now what happens is, when you are having when you're creating a new file, the Spider IDE fills it with this default. Okay, now what is this particular thing? This is what is called doc string. Okay, this is called doc string documentation, meant for documentation of this particular file. Okay, so it automatically does it. Okay, when you have any string, let me print one, and then I will explain you. Okay, sorry. Now I have written a code here. Okay, print underscore underscore doc. Okay, I'm just a little bit jumping the gun, but don't worry, I will explain. You will soon understand it. Now I have written one line of code. Okay, and I have not executed it. Okay, I have saved it. Maybe I have saved it, but this file is here. I have not executed it. There are many ways you can do it. You can run it, or F5 you can press. Then you get it. This is what is running. This is the output you are getting. Okay, it says run file is a function. It is calling it to execute your code, which is in my directory like this. So this is my directory. Okay, the actual file name is I have given this file name here. So it runs that Python file and then prints this value. Okay, if you see this, this is same as what you have written here. Okay, now what is this? Okay, what is this about? Any variable with the two underscore. Okay, there are two underscores here. You may not be able to make out what did I type. Starts with two underscores and also ends with. Okay, this is an object attribute. Okay, now this is a which object? Okay, this I said Python has everything is an object, right? This file, okay, this file, Python file is also an object, and it has many built-in attributes. Okay, one of them is this doc string, okay, doc attribute, which points to a doc string. Okay, now what you do, any program you develop, you can write the documentation of that particular function, and then you can access it using this attribute. Okay, now when I say just a doc, it refers to this particular namespace. Okay, I hope you know what is namespace. You may not be namespace. That is what all the variables or labels. Okay, namespace is the variables and or labels which are visible or available in the current namespace. Okay, that's what in the current scope. Okay, so in the current namespace, what all is available is a namespace. Okay, what are the variables and labels? It need not be a function name. It could be a variable name, file name, whatever it is. Okay, so now in this namespace, this doc is refers to the current file name. So when I access it, it gives you this. Now I said that everything is a object, right? In Python, even the print is an object. Okay, now let me type the type of print. Okay, let me print the type of the print. Okay, now I said print is a built-in function or a method. Okay, it's a built-in function or a method. It's a you know of some class. So it gives you the information about the print itself. Okay, it's a method object. Okay, so it prints you. Now type is a built-in function. Okay, I can also print the type of the type. Okay, let me type the type of type. Okay, and another way of executing this Python code is shift enter. Okay, shift enter. I do shift enter, it will execute it. Is of type class. Is a class type. Okay, so it prints you that what is the type. Okay, and then suppose if I want to know the doc attribute of print object. Okay, that also I can do. Okay, print, because print is a class, right? So I can access the print. Okay, I hope this is correct. Yeah, so this is if you open the implementation of print, they might have written a similar to doc string like this, what the library guys who developed the library for print, that is available in this attribute, because I told you this is an attribute for every object. Okay, all the objects in the Python has this attribute, including the built-in data types like integer or string. They have this doc. So I am printing the doc attribute of this print class. Okay, so which is where is it printing? It prints here. Okay, from here. Okay, from here onwards. Okay, print value slash dot 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 separator. You can, this is the syntax of print. Okay, the signature of print, multiple variable parameters. Okay, is similar to our C printf. You have a um, um, points, so where you can say that print accepts multiple parameters, and then you can also have a separator. I will talk about these things because I shouldn't explain you too many things here because you will miss me. I'm just exploring a little bit. Those who are explorative in my nature, they can start now, digging out, finding out what all each of these things mean. Okay, that's why I'm showing you this. Okay, now let me not go deeper into it. Um, I will now what I concentrate going forward in the rest of the classes. Um, Explain you basic things. Okay, I will not go so much deep. Only one document string I explained you now, but not beyond that today. Okay, because it might be looking little too much for you. If anyone of you is feeling, please feel free to tell me. I will not go deeper into it. I will stop here and then explain you simple things now going forward. Okay, now we are reaching 7 o'clock, so as you guys suggested, let me go with the majority 10 plus 5 gap break. So let us meet at 7:10. Before that, any questions? I am willing to take break for 10 minutes. Let us meet at 7:10. I want to hear feedback also, whether my speed is okay or you want me to slow down after the break. Okay, you can tell me what you want from me after the break. Okay, enjoy. Let us meet at 7:10.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Hello. Sir, I have a doubt. Sir, triple colon is used for multi-line comments in Python, right?
you are right. It's also means for um, doc string. Okay, document string is used, and then it is also for multi-line string. I will talk about string soon. Okay.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Anybody? Okay, we will not use this time for a break. Let us. I will answer the question after the break. Hello. Hope all of you are back. So let me answer the question of Rupali. You want to see the implementation. Okay, let us explore that. Let me try it out. See, there are other one way of doing it is help. Okay, let us see help. So let me show that where is it printing. Okay, I hope this is visible to you. So this is where it's starting. Help of built-in function print. This only doesn't show you how it is implemented. So your question is how to look at the implementation. Let us see whether we can do it. For this, you need to import some function. I'm just trying out. I have not done it earlier, so let me try this. This shows that I am not using it. Okay, um, unused. Okay, you can see that this is, I imported this module. Okay, let me explain what I am doing. I am importing get source. Okay, inspect is a module. From there, I am importing a particular sub module of that uh, get source. Okay, I am interested in finding the source of this print. Okay, let me try to print that print. Sorry, get source print. Uh, I think I need to built-in function. I'm not sure whether I can do that. Um, so let me try it out. I don't exactly. I thought I will, from my memory, I can recall and then do it. Maybe let us do one thing. I will import some module. Okay, random int. Suppose. Let me see whether that works. It doesn't work. Okay, let me see whether how we can get the source later on. Okay, right now let us not try to do this. Help is one way of finding out. Okay, any other questions before we go? I don't want to go too much into that details. We'll look at it later on. Let me try simple things to start with. Okay, we shouldn't be let me open another file maybe. Okay, it's okay, we'll do it here only. Now let me write a function now. Okay, this which I documented it there. Let me put the source code. Okay, I have defined a function now. I run it. Okay, I need to remove some unwanted things. Okay, so I will remove some of the things which is unnecessarily cluttering the things. I will write a comment so that you can uncomment it later on, because you will not be able to see what is happening. These are all cluttering it. Even the help will be too much to print. Okay, I hope you don't get too many things right. Okay, fine. Now I have defined one function object. Here I can print a directory. Okay, directory here. Let me explain what it is. On the console, it gives you list of objects that this IPython console understands now. Okay, list of objects in the within the namespace. Now, since I ran this file once, okay, it remembers those things. Okay, now you can see that it understands the object function object which I have defined. Not only understands, it is loaded. This is a current PVM. The IPython PVM is loaded with this program already, though these function definitions are already there. Okay, so I can execute it from here. Okay, okay, I'm just defining the function and then I ran it once. So it interpreter here went through the complete line, all the program lines, and then it has understood everything. So it has this function which I defined as an object here, which is already loaded in the PVM and it is alive. So I can use the function here and it prints it. Okay, I can invoke it here. Of course, in my program also I can invoke this function. Okay, then it runs. Okay, the whole thing runs, and then I get the hello world here. Okay, so that's one thing which you should know. Now let me start with the strings, which is very important that you should know. My name, you can write. Now there are two ways you can define a string. Both double quote and single quote is allowed. Okay, now I'm sure you must be knowing what these labels are pointing at. Okay, I will not repeat again once I tell you what is happening. So these objects are created and these labels are pointing at them. So I print them. Okay, only thing is when I use double quote to start a string, I should end it with a double quote. I cannot mix it. Okay, I cannot start with one and then end with the other one. Now you may wonder, why did Guido gave the freedom to use both the double quote and single quote? Can anybody tell me why this flexibility is given? A short question.
Character and string, maybe.
Okay, actually there is no character business. Uh, okay, let me tell you why it is. Yeah, any other? I didn't get you what you
In a
exactly was
group
saying.
of sentence where we can include the within the semicolons.
Yeah, okay, that's one valid question, valid answer. Suppose if I define a string like this, A's, B's, I can have a single quote within the double quote. Okay. Similarly, if I start with this, I can have double quote within the single quote. So it is a valid string. Okay, that flexibility is there. And then C had a limitation that it used for a single character it used a single quote, and then for a string it used double quote. It doesn't matter whether you have a single character or double character. This will be a string and this will be a character. What Guido has done is he has merged this and then he has given a flexibility here. Okay, so one of the reasons for allowing it is you can embed one inside the other. Okay, I'm sharing it, not for you to call me any time of the day or whatever, but you can always store it and message me or reach me in case you really want to. So this is the best way to share my number. So you can put a single quote within double quote and vice versa. Okay, that's one reason. Yeah, good answer. Now I told you about the integer, right? So let me talk about that. Okay, my num equal to. Okay, I'm just randomly typing. Don't try to repeat the same number. My num. Now print my num. Okay. Now I don't know what is the size of this, right? I wanted to know. So let us do this. Always the good habit is to have the import here. Okay. As a single line. Okay, I already shared some coding guidelines on the miscellaneous folder. Please look at it and try to learn how to code things in a Python properly. Now I have put a sys import. I have imported a module. Okay, which is a sys module. Okay. Now, if I want to know the size of the variable, I can use size of. Okay, get size of print sys dot get size of my num. Now it says, I think it is in bytes. It to store this, I think it is bytes. Okay, let us see whether, yeah. So you can highlight it if you have installed the kite, then it will give you what a particular function returns. Returns the size of object in bytes. Okay, is the object size. Okay, it's not the particular element or something. So 36 bytes. Now, suppose I mentioned about the ID, right? So let me print the um, ID of my num. So ID of my num is something. Okay, it's some number. Okay, it's not actually a object, an address of this object, or what it's exactly. It could be some magic number, which is unique across all the objects, which is maintained by the Python internally. Okay, so now what I do, I want to actually increase the number. My num is equal to my num into my num into my num. Okay, and then I print my num. I also want to print, okay, ID of my num again. Now, if you have followed my lecture, this should be different from what you got earlier. Now, one more thing, let me ask a question here. Do you think the same number will get printed when I run it again, or will it be different? Any guesses?
Different.
Okay, so let us see. So, of course, it is different, but the sequence, the 252, something looks almost more or less same, the starting numbers, and then you see the lower numbers are different. Okay, so it actually allocates some new space in the memory. Okay, it could be dynamic memory allocation there, and the higher numbers are same because it is getting the same range of values, okay, reserved for objects. So you get the same higher digits, but the lower one will be different. And you can see that the ID is different between these two, of course, because it's immutable. And then you can see the answer of our binum multiplication. It's a huge number. Now let us look at the size of, okay, that I have not printed. Let me print the size of now. After I multiply it thrice, okay, let us see what is the size now. You can see that 36 bytes of object size has become 60 bytes now. Okay, almost double. 3 times we are multiplying it, the object size has become double. Okay, so you can go on, there is no limit. Minum to the power minum also you can do it, I hope. Let me see, I hope my computer doesn't break or explode. Let us copy. I don't want to lose what we have tried earlier. Oh, sorry. Double star is to the power. Okay, actually this minum itself is multiplied minum, and then that to the power this. I don't know what will happen. Oh god, I shouldn't have done it. Can you guess what is happening?
Sir, calculating.
Yeah, it's is beyond. I don't know how to terminate it now. Okay, we can kill this. Okay, so do not try this. It will. I don't know, if you have patience, you can do that. So it's huge things. It may still work. Okay, what will happen is virtual memory will be used for storing this, and it will be in terms of few kilobytes or megabytes, I don't know. And it will take a lot of time for multiplying this. Okay, maybe it will come back with the result, but I don't have patience. We don't want to waste our time. But what I'm saying is it has not given you error. Okay, it's the compiler has not given error, and it has accepted your command, and it is executing it. Okay, it's not crashing. It is not crashed. It is taking more time. That's all. Okay, so that's the beauty of Python, I would say. Okay, fine. Now let us look at something else. In the meantime, if you have any doubts, you can always ask me. Okay, now I said hello is a function, right? So now I can also copy the object, function object. Okay, so I should not put a parenthesis here. If I put parenthesis, it means that I am okay. Let me ask a question here. What is the difference between these two? Maybe before I explain, don't try it out and tell me. Before that, you have to tell me. Okay, I am not running it now. What do you think will happen in this? Will I get the same or different? What will I get?
Different.
What will I get? What is here? What will be printed? At least not exact words I'm saying. Tell me something. What will be printed here? What
First
kind
will
of?
be string and second will be function.
First will be function and second will be strings.
I think you are really exactly reverse, but okay. Please think about it. Please think. I have mentioned it earlier, even in my lecture as well as here. I mentioned something.
Both will
Hello
do
is
same.
yes, hello is
Both will
already
be
in the
function.
memory.
Both will print function. Okay, somebody is writing here. I don't know what is going diff. Okay.
So the first will be function, second will be none, I guess.
Okay. Second one will return a value. See, second one will return the return value of that hello function. Okay. What is that? Can you are right, because we are calling the function here. So it is going to call this function very religiously. And then I mentioned that every function will return something. What type I said? None type, right?
None type.
Yeah. So you should have reference to the none type, okay, of value none and of type none type, okay, because it would have executed it. By then, hello world also would have been printed, and then the return value will be stored here, and that will be printed here, which is a type of that. So none type should come. Whereas here, what happens is I mentioned that in Python everything is an object. So even the function is a function object. So it is similar to in your C world function pointer. Okay, if you are in C, if you do this, it will be copying the pointer to a function into this variable, right? The both are function pointers. So here also is a function object. So it will be referring to the same object. Now it will print function object, and then if I say copy hello, what will happen? Can you tell me what will happen here? See what is happening here. I am copying the hello function object address, whatever reference to the copy hello. What I am doing here, I am doing a parenthesis. So that means I am calling the function. Which function? Hello function. Got it? Okay. Now let me show you. 60 is the size of this. This print is a function type. Okay. A copy hello is a type of function object. And then this hello world is coming from this invocation. Okay. And this hello world is coming from this invocation, and then This is coming from the last print, which is a type of copy hello, which because this function did not return anything, it has returned a none type object. So the type of that what was returned is a none type. That's what is getting printed. Are you clear about what is happening here? I suppose.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions? Please ask me. Now let me come back to string. Um, so it's a string type. Okay. Fine. Now what else I wanted to tell you today? Some numbers we will play around. Okay. That's very important. Print bin of 10. So it converts, this 10 is an integer. Okay, whatever constants you define is a integer type, and value 10 is written in the form of binary form. Okay, that's some of the library functions I mentioned it. Now oct of 8, can you guys guess what will be the value? So the syntax is 0 O. Okay, 0 similar to C, and 10 to the power 8. Okay, 1 into 8 to the power 1 and plus 0. So octal digital number. Okay, now let me print the x value also. Okay, now suppose print x 0x 10. What will I get?
10 only.
Yeah, same thing will get, right? Okay, fine. Now let me tell you about the division. 4/2. Okay, if you do single slash and there is a double slash, okay, this is integer division. Print 4,0/2 floating point division. Okay, so double slash is for integer and this for a floating point, and then print div mod 10,3. Now what is div mod? Let me show you. You can say control I think. Yeah, control I if you do, you can get the definition. So what is the definition of, okay, let me write it here, even I forget sometimes. Control plus I to get help on function. So you have to highlight here and then press control I. Okay, what is it doing? It says that it will, you have to pass two parameters to it. Okay, and then x comma y, then what you get is output is division, remainder, and then the divided value. So let me first run it and then show you. 3,1. So it does an integer division 10/3. Okay, and then gives you two values. If x is this, this is what you will get. Okay, the values of div mod is, you get the remainder and the divided value. Okay, so div mod is one function. There are many, I don't want to go into it. Now I will show you one more thing before we break, something unique about Python. Okay, now we talked about base values. This is a basic, this is a binary decimal and octal and hexadecimal, but there are a range of base values are supported in Python. Okay, so let me explain that little bit. Print, let me first type it. Okay, just hold on. Okay, I am giving this integer is not like a typecast. You are creating an integer object here. Okay, and then what I am giving here is, it's a default parameter. Okay, default parameter. In C++, you might have heard about default parameter. Those who are not aware of C++, I will tell you what I mean by, when I say int, I'm giving some string which is 22, and then I'm saying base equal to 0. Okay, this is a default parameter which is initialized to 0 normally. If I give only string, it will convert this into an integer and then print it. Okay, which is of base 0. But you can change this value. Okay, to something else. Okay, I will tell you the range of values that you can change it. This is additional parameter. If you don't give that parameter, it will assume the default value. Okay, it is there in C++. Okay, not in C. So here what will happen is, it is accepting 22 as an input, a string value, and converting an integer object of base 0, sorry. It will print you 22. Okay, same thing. Now I will tell you that it has got a range of values that you can give it as a base for the integer object creation. Base can be greater than or equal to, apart from 0, okay, greater than or equal to 2 and less than or equal to 36 or 0. Okay, you can give the base value. Okay, base value here, you can give anything greater than or equal to 2 or less than or equal to 36. 0 you can give. That means base 1 you cannot give. So let me try giving base 1. I'll explain you shortly, don't worry. We'll understand this and then end this class. Okay, let me save this. Value error, because base does not accept 1. You can see that 0 is accepted, greater than or equal to 2, to less than or equal to 36. Okay, even 37 will not be accepted. Fine. Okay, so that is very obvious. So let me tell you 2. Now what is valid? Okay, what did I do? Why invalid literal? Why 2 also doesn't accept, is it? Let me see 3. Okay, I think 2 is also not accepted for reason. Let me check it. Okay, now can somebody tell me why is this value is 8? Must be very obvious. 2 into 3 to the power 1. Okay, plus, of course, 2 into 3 power 0 is 1. So 6 plus 2, 8. Okay. Now I can go on giving anything. So let me 3 onwards. I think 2 doesn't work. I have to check it. I thought 2 will work based on the documentation, but int, I will give you different value. Okay, I will give same value only so that we get different thing. Base equal to 36. Okay. So you can know that it is 2 into 36 to the power 1 plus 2. Okay, 74. Now let me ask you a question. Why did they stop with 36? Why not 37? Anybody has come across this? Or
So 26 alphabets and 10 digits.
very good. Yeah, it's alphabets are there. Okay, A to Z. So we can use that for indicating the different bases. So I have not tried it. Let me try now. Okay.
Like, is it related to ASCII?
Sorry. Sorry, can you come again? Okay, fine. Let me see whether this works. It should work. I've not tried it. Okay. What is the problem? Oh, sorry. Oh. Yeah. So I'm sure you can. I'm not very good in arithmetic. So can you help me get this value? I'm not going to say write it. Maybe you can try it out. So 35 into 36 plus 35. Okay. Do you understand? I hope. Let me write it. So this is the base 36. So any characters A to Z is a valid number in this base. So I can represent a number with ZZ I have represented. That means the Z actually corresponds to, in a decimal system, 9 is the maximum symbol that we can use. So similarly in the base of 36, 35 is the maximum. That happens to be Z. So each of the Z means the value of 35. So 35 into the base is 36 to the power 1 plus Z is 35 to the power 0, which is 1. So you get 1295. So if you get one more Z, it will be 35 into 36 square. Okay, if you write this, okay, I don't want to write it here. Only this will do it. It will be 35 into 36 to the power 2 plus this. Okay, that's all. Okay, I hope that's what you will get it. Okay, fine. I think this is clear, I hope. Any questions before we go? Any other? I don't want to say anything more today.
Sir, in base 0, the number of symbols are 0.
I think that's
It
a
means
convention
base
maybe.
defines the number of symbols.
No, actually base 0 corresponds to our decimal system, I think. Okay. It's a default number. Okay.
Okay.
It's
So then, what will
yeah, go ahead.
so then if we will do base is equal to 10 and base is equal to 0, then what will be the difference?
Oh, okay. Let us try that. I think it should be same. Okay. Uh, oh, sorry. Okay. Both are same.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Where will you use it? Different decimal base systems. In case if you want to do it, maybe in your database or anywhere else. If you want to data sciences, I'm not sure where it can be used. Um, I may have to find out. Okay. This support is there. Keep it in your back of your mind so that in case if requirement comes, you will always be able to use it. Okay. So anything else I need to tell you before we drop off? So the convention, okay, let me talk about some coding convention. You might have been noticing it, but it may not be obvious. See, whenever I put hash, I always give a gap and then write a command. Please follow that. Okay, it makes uniformity in terms of commenting. And then if you have seen here, I always give a it automatically comes to me, but you should also follow this. Okay, that's what even the coding guidelines recommends. Do not write it like equal to without any space on both sides. Okay, but if you noticed it, I have done in some places, right? In these places, I have done it intentionally. So that's also a Python convention where the default parameters, when you are initializing it with something, you are supposed to not to leave any gap here. Okay, only in these places. But wherever you are assigning in normal variables or any variable assignment or any operator for that matter, you need to give a one single space. Don't give multiple spaces. That's not correct. Okay, it's not accepted. Okay, I in fact I when I see that I sometimes I get evenly perturbed. Okay, so please don't do that. Similarly, give a gap not before the comma, after the comma. Okay, you do not write it close to each other. That's normal convention, English convention also. Do not leave a gap before the comma, but after the comma you are supposed to leave a gap. Okay, and then after the parenthesis do not give a gap. Okay, it's not needed. You are not supposed to, as per the coding guidelines. So follow this. Everything that I have written, except maybe here I did not do it. Okay, it's not fair on my part to claim that I am very perfect, but I don't. This I didn't do. Okay, so one more thing is, do not write a comment like this close to the thing. At least leave a two bases or one tab is better. Okay, so that this comments are starting in the same place. At least you should leave a gap, one space or two spaces, not right immediately following the instruction. You can see that I left some gap always. Okay, so these are some coding guidelines. And then function names, you can represent it with the underscore. uh, okay, this is also fine. Some of the variable names. And then my city, this is another convention, my name. Okay, any one of this variable name and function names, you can follow something different. Function names maybe with the underscore, and then variable names with the capital letters, starting with a small letter and then caps is one convention. Anyway, I sent a document which gives you normal conventions, and you can also learn from the way these guys do it. So they don't follow the capitalization of this, get size of some functions, they are all small letters only. But variable names are easy to recognize when you have this caps coming in between. Okay, so these are all some coding guidelines. Please follow one and then stick to it, and make sure that you follow it religiously on every line of code that you write. Don't write Don't say that I am writing it for just a practice, so I will not follow this coding guidelines. It will not come naturally. When you go to a company, you are supposed to follow such coding guidelines. So please learn, even during practice, learn it, and it will be imbibed in your brain, and your fingers will automatically give a space after comma, and then after the variable operators, it will give you space. If you are not following so far in your coding, you are, it is not something something new I am teaching you. It's supposed to have been followed in C programming also, but in case if you are not doing it, please do it going forward. I pay a little bit attention to this. At least it will force you to follow this coding guidelines when you write for assignments or any of the uh, even in the exam when you code it. You need to follow it. Okay. So something. So in base 2 we have only 0 and 1, so it will not accept value 2. Yeah, that is true. But it did not even accept the base 2 itself, right? I tried giving base equal to 2, it did not accept. Let me try whether I made a mistake.
Sir, base 2 uses 0 and 1 only.
Correct.
You use 2 too.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay, I thought the base 2 itself is wrong, but actually the problem was here. Thanks for debugging it. Okay, sometimes when you are doing something, you will suspect something else. Thank you. So let us at least document it. So this is correct. Okay. Thanks for pointing it out. Okay. Value is what is value is 3, right? Okay. Where is it printed? 3. Okay. Good. Thank you. I think thanks for bringing it up. I make such mistakes, so please. Yeah, you can always highlight it so that I can correct it. So we document the right ones in the code. So what I will do normally is I will share this code also. Since I can't share C.py or something, .py.text I will put it so that you can easily copy it and then remove the dot text, and then it will become a Python file. So okay, I before I end it, I want to show you what I am doing in case you guys are not tracking me. See, I have done in the classroom sessions directory. I will be keep on creating a directory called session 1, session 2. Recording, I will post it. I will see both my Google Meet recording as well as my local recording, whichever is the lower size, I will post it. And the PDF of my files and any code that we write on the particular session, I share it in the same directory. That's why I open a directory there. So everything is captured there. Labs also, I follow the same convention. You can see that I have shared the recording as well as any PDF that we have used in the particular labs. So it is easy for you. I suggest you download it and keep it in your local directory, because at the end of the semester, I get a request from the organization, IIIT Lucknow, saying that the Google cloud space is used up. So I may have to delete all these things. So it may not be available after the course is over. So please, then and there, in case whatever you want, download it and keep it in your local laptop so that you don't lose it. Okay, fine. I think I ate up 55 minutes, so I will not hold you beyond it as per my commitment. Bye bye. See you tomorrow. Have a nice weekend. Sorry, not a weekend. Night. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
sir. Good night.
Thank you. Bye bye.